First contact and underestimation. The orbital defense network hummed with quiet efficiency, thousands of satellites working in perfect harmony to scan the depths of space surrounding Earth. Commander Eliza Rice stood before the curved wall of holographic displays in the Strategic Command Center beneath the Rocky Mountains, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of the screens. 20 years of service had earned her this position, overseeing humanity's first line of defense against the unknown. "Commander, we've detected anomalous objects at the edge of our sensor range," Lieutenant Kai Jong reported, his fingers dancing across the control interface. "They're small, barely registered on our gravimetric scanners, but they're definitely not natural." Eliza leaned forward, her expression unchanged but her pulse quickening. "Show me." The central display zoomed outward, past the lunar orbit, to where a cluster of objects no larger than washing machines drifted silently. They weren't meteors or space debris. Their movement patterns showed clear purpose and coordination. "We count 17 objects, all maintaining position relative to Earth. Their hulls appear to be composed of an unknown alloy that partially absorbs our scanning frequencies," Kai continued. "They've been there for approximately 6 hours, and our defense protocols didn't flag them." Eliza asked, her voice sharp with concern. "That's the strange part. They seem to exist partially out of phase with our reality. It's like they're testing our detection capabilities." Eliza straightened her uniform jacket, a habit from her military academy days. "Inform the Secretary General and activate Alert Protocol Theta. I want every astronomical facility on the planet looking at those objects within the hour." "Yes, Commander." Within days, the truth became impossible to ignore. Earth wasn't alone, and they were being watched. The global response was surprisingly measured. Decades of science fiction had, in some ways, prepared humanity for this moment. There was no mass panic, just a collective holding of breath as governments worldwide coordinated their response through the United Nations Space Security Council. 3 weeks after the discovery of the probes, they made themselves known. The alien message arrived simultaneously at every major communication hub on Earth, a precise demonstration of technological superiority. It was a simple request for diplomatic contact, translated into all major human languages with flawless accuracy. The Vesperian Alliance, they called themselves, a confederation of 7 sentient species from a nearby arm of the Milky Way. They had been observing Earth for decades, they explained, studying our development from a distance. Now they wished to establish formal relations. The meeting was set for neutral ground, a space station hastily assembled in orbit between Earth and the Moon. Commander Rice was among the 12 representatives chosen to make humanity's first impression on their galactic neighbors. The Vesperians were nothing like humans had imagined. The primary delegates stood nearly 3 meters tall, with elongated limbs and iridescent scales that shifted color with their movements. Their eyes, 3 of them, arranged in a triangle, seemed to look through rather than at the human representatives. "We greet the people of Earth," their leader, who had taken the human pronounceable name Zextoral, spoke through a translation device. "Your world has been of interest to our scientific community for some time." The diplomatic niceties continued, but something in their tone bothered Eliza. There was a subtle condescension there, like adults speaking to children. When the initial greetings were complete, the Vesperians made their true intentions clear. "Your species has achieved a commendable level of development, given your isolation and biological limitations," Zextoral stated. "However, you remain primitive by galactic standards. We propose a relationship of mutual benefit. We will provide technological guidance, and in exchange, we request access to certain resources unique to your planet." The resources they wanted seemed reasonable at first. Permission to establish research outposts in Earth's oceans and certain rare mineral rights. But something about the arrangement felt imbalanced to Eliza. The technology they offered in return was impressive but carefully limited. Medical advances, more efficient energy systems, but nothing that would allow humans to travel beyond their solar system or defend themselves against potential threats. Back on Earth, the United Nations debated the proposal while Eliza met with the Joint Chiefs of Staff in a secure facility beneath Washington, D.C. "They're treating us like a backward colony," she argued, pacing the length of the conference table. "The technology they're offering is flashy but lacks any strategic value. Meanwhile, they get access to our deepest oceans and mineral deposits we haven't even fully explored ourselves." General Lakshmi Patel nodded in agreement. "Their scans of Earth have been extensive. They know exactly what they want and where to find it. But I'm more concerned about what they're not telling us." "The Galactic community," Admiral Chen interjected. "They've barely mentioned other spacefaring civilizations, and they've deflected every question about their own history and territorial claims." "Because they don't see us as equals," Eliza concluded. "We're a resource extraction opportunity, nothing more." Despite these reservations, political pressure to accept the Vesperian offer mounted. The promise of advanced medical technology alone was enough to sway public opinion. After a month of negotiations, Earth's governments agreed to a modified version of the proposal, allowing limited Vesperian access to specified resource sites. It took less than a year for the true nature of the relationship to reveal itself. The Vesperian research outposts expanded rapidly, their operations extending far beyond the agreed-upon boundaries. When questioned, their representatives cited translation errors in the original agreement. Their mining operations grew more aggressive, extracting minerals at rates that caused detectable ecological disruption. Commander Rice watched with growing unease as more Vesperian ships arrived in Earth orbit. What had begun as a handful of diplomatic vessels had grown to a fleet of over 30 ships, including several whose designs suggested military capability. "They're systematically exploiting us," she reported to the Security Council. "Each concession we make is met with new demands." The technology they shared has proven limited in application, while they've mapped our entire planet's resource deposits. But challenging the Vesperians directly seemed impossible. Their ships demonstrated capabilities far beyond Earth's defensive systems, and their representatives made subtle references to unfortunate incidents with other developing worlds that had resisted Vesperian guidance. Publicly, Earth's governments continued diplomatic engagement. Privately, Operation Safeguard was initiated. Deep beneath the oceans, inside hollowed-out mountains, and in secret facilities across the globe, humanity prepared. The brightest minds were gathered, working with what they could learn from observing Vesperian technology. Quantum computing, adaptive AI systems, and experimental defense platforms were developed in absolute secrecy. "They think we're primitive because we've been peaceful," Dr. Sanjay Patel, head of Earth's Quantum Defense Initiative, explained during a classified briefing. "They've mistaken our restraint for weakness and our diplomacy for submission." Eliza studied the designs for Earth's new defensive systems. "How long until we're ready?" 6 months for basic defensive capability. A year for full implementation," Dr. Patel replied. "But we need to keep them distracted until then." And so humanity played along, appearing to submit to increasingly unreasonable Vesperian demands while secretly preparing for the inevitable confrontation. The aliens' arrogance worked in Earth's favor. They saw only what they expected to see, a technologically inferior species gradually being subjugated. The attack, when it came, was both unexpected and brutally efficient. Without warning or declaration, Vesperian ships positioned themselves above Earth's major cities and unleashed a barrage of energy weapons. Their target wasn't the civilian population but the planet's infrastructure. Power grids, communication networks, and transportation systems collapsed in a coordinated assault. In orbit, Earth's conventional satellite network was systematically destroyed, isolating regions from one another and cutting off global communication. The message was clear: resistance was futile. But the Vesperians had made a critical miscalculation. As the alien fleet moved to secure their dominance, hidden systems across the planet activated. Quantum-encrypted communication channels, independent of the conventional network, connected military and scientific facilities. Orbital platforms, disguised as debris or weather satellites, revealed their true nature. In the Strategic Command Center, now operating on independent power systems specifically designed to survive the expected attack, Commander Reyes received status reports from around the globe. Distributed Defense Network Online, Lieutenant Zhang reported. 67% of our concealed platforms are operational and awaiting command authorization. The Vesperians are broadcasting worldwide, another officer announced. They're declaring themselves the new governing authority of Earth. On the main screen, Zex Toral's face appeared, his scales now a deep crimson of dominance. People of Earth, your resistance is unnecessary and will only bring suffering. Your leaders have hidden the truth. Your world lacks the resources to sustain your growing population beyond the next century. Under Vesperian administration, we will ensure sustainable development and eventual integration into the galactic community. Submit now, and the transition will be peaceful. Elisa's expression hardened as she turned to the communications officer. Send our response on all channels. The officer nodded, and Elisa faced the camera. Her voice was calm, measured, but carried the weight of humanity's resolve. This is Commander Elisa Reyes of Earth Strategic Command. We have a response to your unprovoked attack and attempted subjugation. She paused, a small smile forming at the corner of her mouth. You should have studied us more carefully. With a nod to Lieutenant Zhang, she gave the order that would change Earth's destiny forever. Activate NAXU's initiative. All defensive platforms engage. Throughout Earth's atmosphere and in orbit, concealed defense systems awakened. The Vesperians were about to learn that humanity was far from defenseless, and they had been preparing for this moment longer than the aliens could have imagined. Humanity strikes back. The Vesperian fleet commanders were still congratulating themselves on their swift subjugation of Earth when the first anomalies appeared on their sensor arrays. Small energy signatures, barely visible against the background radiation of the planet, began to multiply across their tactical displays. Aboard the Vesperian command vessel, Sub-Commander Velcorax turned to his superior. High Commander, we're detecting unusual energy patterns emerging from the planet's atmosphere. Zex Toral dismissed the concern with a casual gesture. Expected resistance. Their primitive defense systems pose no threat to our shielding technology. Sir, these signatures don't match any recorded Earth weapons systems. They appear to be adapting to our sensor frequencies. Before the High Commander could respond, alarms blared across the command deck. 3 Vesperian support vessels at the fleet's perimeter simultaneously reported shield failures, followed by targeted strikes against their propulsion systems. The ships weren't destroyed. They were systematically disabled. Impossible, Zex Toral hissed, his scales shifting to an alarmed yellow-orange. Activate full combat protocols and identify the attack source. But the source was everywhere and nowhere. Rising from Earth's oceans, emerging from what had appeared to be abandoned mining facilities, and descending from camouflaged orbital positions, came humanity's true defensive capability. The NAXU's initiative. Deep in the Strategic Command Center, Commander Reyes watched as the first phase of Earth's counterattack unfolded. The NAXUS system wasn't just a weapon. It was a distributed, adaptive defense network designed to learn and evolve during combat. NAXUS neural targeting is online, Dr. Maya Wilson, the system's chief architect, reported. The adaptive algorithms are already identifying vulnerabilities in their shield modulations. On the tactical display, they watched as swarms of microdrones, each no larger than a hummingbird, but powered by quantum computing cores, surrounded the Vesperian vessels. The drones didn't attack directly. Instead, they analyzed and adapted to the alien shielding frequencies, creating localized disruption fields that allowed Earth's more conventional weapons to penetrate. They expected us to either have nothing or to use brute force, Lieutenant Zhang observed. They never considered we might develop something entirely new. Eliza nodded. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our adaptability. Launch Phase 2. Across the planet, concealed launch facilities activated, but what rose from them weren't traditional missiles or fighter craft. Instead, semi-autonomous combat platforms, combining the best of AI capability with human tactical oversight, ascended to challenge the Vesperian fleet. The alien commanders, trained in conventional warfare against known galactic powers, were unprepared for Earth's approach. Their tactics were designed to counter direct assaults and overwhelming firepower. Instead, they faced an enemy that seemed to flow around their defenses like water, identifying and exploiting weaknesses faster than they could be reinforced. "They're adapting their shield frequencies," Lieutenant John reported, watching the tactical display, "attempting to lock out our penetration algorithms." Dr. Wilson smiled. "That's exactly what NEXUS expected." Initiating Countermeasure Suite Alpha. The NEXUS drones suddenly changed tactics, no longer attempting to breach the Vesperian shields directly. Instead, they positioned themselves in mathematically precise formations around each enemy vessel, generating interference patterns that caused the shields to resonate at their natural frequency. "The shields are designed to repel external force," Dr. Wilson explained. "We're not attacking them. We're making them attack themselves." On the tactical display, Vesperian shield systems began to overload one after another, energy cascading across their hulls in brilliant flashes of light. In orbit, the battle for Earth had fully engaged. The Vesperians, recovering from their initial surprise, launched counterattacks against the revealed Earth defenses. Energy weapons lashed out, destroying several of humanity's orbital platforms and defense satellites. But for every system they destroyed, 2 more activated from concealed positions. Earth had been preparing for this moment far longer than the Vesperians realized. "High Commander, their defense network is far more extensive than our intelligence indicated," Sub-Commander Velcorax reported, his voice tight with concern. "They appear to have concealed their true technological capabilities." Zextoral scales had darkened to a deep purple of rage. "Impossible. Our surveillance has been comprehensive. They could not have hidden development of this scale." "Evidence suggests otherwise, High Commander. Their systems show design principles unlike anything in our records. They've developed entirely novel approaches to quantum field manipulation." The High Commander stared at the tactical display as another of his vessels reported critical systems failure. These primitives, these barely spacefaring mammals, had deceived them completely. "Deploy the graviton disruptors," he ordered. "Target their major population centers. Let's see how quickly their resistance crumbles when their cities begin to collapse." 3 of the largest Vesperian vessels moved into position above Earth's most populous regions. Massive weapon arrays began to charge, drawing energy directly from artificially generated quantum fluctuations, technology the Vesperians had never shared with the primitive humans. But as the weapons reached full charge, something unexpected happened. The gravitational fields they were generating began to destabilize, their carefully calibrated matrices corrupted by outside influence. "High Commander, something is interfering with our graviton alignment," Velcorax shouted. "The fields are becoming unstable." On Earth, Commander Reyes watched with grim satisfaction. "They still don't understand what they're dealing with, do they?" Dr. Wilson shook her head. "They assumed our quantum research was theoretical at best. They never imagined we'd developed practical applications. What the Vesperians didn't know, what Earth scientists had kept carefully hidden, was that humanity had made a breakthrough in quantum field theory years before alien contact. While publicly appearing to struggle with basic fusion power, Earth's hidden research facilities had developed methods to detect and influence quantum fields at a distance. The NEXUS system wasn't just a weapon platform. It was an extension of this technology, capable of detecting and manipulating the underlying quantum structure of reality itself, including the artificial quantum fluctuations powering the Vesperian weapons. "Their technology is more advanced than ours in many ways," Dr. Wilson explained, "but it's built on the same physical principles. They never considered we might understand those principles well enough to interfere with them. One by one, the graviton disruptors failed, their energy discharging harmlessly into space, or in some cases, back into the Vesperian vessels themselves. 2 ships suffered catastrophic power system failures, their crews forced to abandon ship in emergency evacuation pods. The turning point came when Earth revealed its final defensive capability. "They're regrouping for another assault," Lieutenant Zhang reported, concentrating their remaining vessels for a coordinated attack. Commander Reyes studied the tactical display. "They're finally taking us seriously. Time to show them our full capabilities. Initiate Terra Protocol." Across the planet, massive ground installations that had been disguised as industrial complexes or natural formations revealed their true purpose. Enormous emitter arrays rose from hidden bunkers, their design unlike any weapon the Vesperians had encountered before. "What is this?" Zex Toril demanded as his sensors detected the new energy signatures. "What are they activating?" The answer came in the form of a planet-wide energy field that rose from Earth's surface like a luminous tide. It wasn't a destructive force. It didn't attack the Vesperian vessels directly. Instead, it enveloped them in a complex quantum matrix that bound their ships to Earth's natural gravitational and magnetic fields. "Terra Protocol online," Dr. Wilson confirmed. "Field stabilization at 87% and rising." The effect was immediate and devastating. The Vesperian vessels, their propulsion and navigation systems rendered useless by the field, found themselves bound to Earth like satellites in fixed orbits. Their weapons, designed to operate in normal space, couldn't penetrate the quantum interference surrounding them. On the command vessel, Zex Toril watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet was neutralized without a single additional shot being fired. "High Commander," Velkorak said quietly, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet." On the main viewer, Commander Eliza Reyes appeared, her expression calm but resolute. "High Commander Zex Toril, your attack on Earth has failed. Your fleet is now contained within our defensive field, and will remain so until terms for your withdrawal are agreed upon." Zex Toril's scales flushed with patterns of disbelief and fury. "This is impossible. Your species could not have developed such technology independently. Yet here we are," Eliza replied evenly. "You mistook our diplomatic nature for weakness. You assumed our technological development followed the same path as yours. These were costly miscalculations." She leaned forward, her dark eyes intense. "Humanity has always thrived when challenged. For centuries, we fought amongst ourselves, developing weapons and defenses against enemies who understood how we think. When you arrived, we recognized a new kind of threat, and we adapted accordingly." "What are your terms?" Velkorax asked, stepping forward as Zex Toril seemed momentarily unable to respond. "Immediate withdrawal of all Vesperian forces from Earth space, return of all extracted resources, full disclosure of your activities in our solar system, and recognition of Earth as a sovereign power with whom you will negotiate as equals in the future." Zex Toril regained his composure, his scales settling into a more controlled pattern. "And if we refuse?" Eliza's expression didn't change. "Then you remain where you are, while we study your ships and technology at our leisure. The choice is yours, High Commander. But know this, we would prefer peace, yet we are fully prepared for continued conflict if necessary." 3 months later, Commander Reyes stood in the newly constructed United Earth Diplomatic Center in Geneva, watching as representatives from the Vesperian Alliance signed the Treaty of Sol, formally recognizing Earth as a sovereign power with full rights in the galactic community. After their defeat, the Vesperians had been forced to acknowledge the true extent of their deception. Earth wasn't the only world they had attempted to subjugate under the guise of guidance, but it was the first to successfully resist. They've agreed to provide navigational data for the nearest 17 star systems, Admiral Chen reported, joining Eliza at the observation window, and technical specifications for their FTL communications network. "And the other worlds they've been guiding?" Eliza asked. We've established contact with 3 of them already. They're eager to learn how we resisted." Eliza nodded, watching as Zextoral, now serving as a regular diplomat rather than a conqueror, signed the final document. "We won't make the same mistake they did," she said. "We won't assume these other civilizations think like us or need to follow our development path. The NEXUSS initiative is being reconfigured for deep space monitoring." Admiral Chen added, "Early warning for any other helpful visitors who might come our way." As the ceremony concluded, Dr. Wilson joined them, carrying a data tablet. The Vesperian databases have been fascinating. There are at least 30 spacefaring civilizations within 1,000 light-years and hundreds more developing worlds. We were just one small discovery on their expansion frontier. "Not so small anymore," Eliza observed. Later that evening, as Earth's new position in the galactic community was celebrated worldwide, Eliza stood alone on the balcony of the diplomatic center, looking up at the stars. The Vesperian ships were gone, but humanity's new orbital defense platforms gleamed occasionally as they caught the sunlight. Lieutenant Zhang found her there, offering a glass of champagne. "To Earth's continued independence," he toasted. Eliza raised her glass. "And to the journey ahead. We've taken our first real steps into a much larger universe." "Do you think they'll be back?" Zhang asked, looking up at the star-filled sky. "Not as conquerors," Eliza replied, "but we'll be ready regardless. Humanity has always been at its best when facing the unknown." Above them, the stars seemed brighter somehow, no longer distant points of light, but destinations waiting to be explored. Earth had proven itself not just a survivor, but a force to be respected. The galaxy would never be the same again.